Hello. Hi, guys. Oh my goodness. So today I decided to do this from my office just because it's a little bit easier to take questions at the end than it is walking around with my phone because I can barely see what's on the screen. So I thought this would be a fun little experiment. And if you guys bear with me because I don't know how to do everything properly on StreamYard, usually I'm on someone else's stream and they're controlling everything. So, yes, so please bear with me. I did want to say that if you have any questions throughout this, if you wouldn't mind just writing question in caps at the beginning of it, because I don't have anyone starring, and so it will just be easier for me to see those. Awesome. All right. Oh my goodness. I see Kelly is here. Kelly Copter, Marina, Joe, Teresa. Hi everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Um, all right. Oh, and thank you so much to Sandy for being my mod today. um, all right. So today's question is from Trevor Ole 7930. And it says, "Hello, Jenna. Please, can you tell me what TRs you have witnessed and done yourself? I just wanted to know what happens as you go up the bridge. I did the purification rundown and a couple of courses on the right side of the bridge." Um, and then he describes what TRs he did. And he even mentions, walk over to that wall. Thank you. Ashtray, get up off that chair. This sounds like crazy talk, but these are actual things that happen in Scientology training routines or communication drills. So I thought it would be fun to get into that today. So, okay, let me see where to start. I am going to be brave today and attempt to share my screen with you. I did practice, but I don't know what's going to happen when I actually do it live. But here we go. All right. Share screen. Share screen. Oh, aha. Here we go. Guys, I'm doing it. All right. So this is called the Bridge to Total Freedom. This is basically all of the steps that you're supposed to take in Scientology. You start at the bottom and you move up step by step. So everybody getting into Scientology starts out here and you go up step by step until you get to the top. And then these are the highest levels. So this bridge, it's called a bridge because usually it had an image of a bridge behind it, but it doesn't have it on this. I'm not sure why. But basically, the left half of the bridge is the training side. So all of this is where you train in order to be able to, okay, sorry, it's a little bit difficult to explain. You train in order to be able to audit people on this side of on the processing side of the bridge. Processing and auditing are two words that are interchangeable. And, we sometimes say counseling just because it's just an easier way of thinking about it. But this is the auditing side of the bridge. And they're basically all these levels that you go through. But in order to go through them, you need to have an auditor. And in order to train to be an auditor, you need to do this side of the bridge. And so they're parallel. So if you finish up to here as far as the training side, you can audit someone up to here on the processing side. So they sort of work parallel. And on the training side, you're essentially learning to audit people on this side of the bridge, but you're also gaining additional insights about Scientology along the way. So I'm bringing this up because on the training side of the bridge, okay, wait, I have to zoom in. On the training side of the bridge, there is very early on right here. Gosh, I need to zoom in even more because I still don't think you can see it. This says New Hubbard Professional TR Course graduate. And so TRs stand for training routines. And the TRs are a course that you do early on in your training to become an auditor. And they basically teach you how to communicate with the person you're auditing. And they teach you certain procedures and certain things that you need to know just in order to be able to communicate and not have your communication be so distracting that it distracts the person who you're auditing from what you're supposed to be doing. So the first course about TRs is we call it Pro TRs, but it's New Hubbard Professional TR Course Graduate. And that's the first place where you do TRs on the bridge. So it's right about here. However, this is if you're doing professional auditor training. Down here are all of these introductory courses that Scientology uses to get people into Scientology. And, so, and like, just say, like, so there are some other courses in this area of the bridge that are less, that they have sort of like lower standards. They're easier versions of the ones that are, more up here. Like, for example, in here, they have children's communication course, which actually does do the TRs. It's just not as hard, and you don't have to read as many things or listen to as many lectures from L. Ron Hubbard. And the passing standard for the TRs, communication drills, are much harder up here than they are required for children. Oh, hi, Liz Gale. Hi, Farrell Cheryl. Oh my God, I'm so excited you guys are here, all my friends. Okay, so basically, so to start out with on the Pro TRs course, there are 4 TRs, and it starts with something called, so it goes OTTR0, TR0, TR1, TR2, TR2.5, TR3, and TR4. So OTTR0 is so most of these TR0 to 4, you basically are sitting in front of someone about 3 feet away and you're facing them. And the first training routine, OTTR0, which is, I'm not even going to get into what that name means, but you basically sit across from someone with your eyes closed and with your hands on your lap, and you're basically just supposed to be there. I wish I could just like zoom out a little, but you're just sitting there like this with your eyes closed. And it's just supposed to make you comfortable with just sitting there and just sort of being in the space. It's considered like a precursor to all of the, the actual talking part. And and then the next one after that is TR0, and it's called Confront. And you sit there 3 feet across from someone with your eyes open, and you're not supposed to flinch. You're not supposed to blink excessively. You're not supposed to move, or like you can't scratch an itch or anything like that. And you're just supposed to sit there, and you're supposed to do these until you feel comfortable doing them. And you're supposed to have some sort of realization. Now, as a kid, the standards aren't quite as high on these, but when you're doing the professional TRs course, training to become a professional auditor, you actually have to sit there for 2 hours facing someone on TR0, and you have to do it like without moving, without blinking or anything like that. That's considered the standard. And as a result, when I was in Clearwater, I did this course when I was 13. And when you're 13, sitting there for 2 hours without moving is basically torture. You're not even supposed to think of other things. You're just supposed to be looking at the person in front of you. And so, I don't know, all sorts of weird things happened. I would start seeing colors, and this drill was considered very, very hard. People would be on it for months, grown adults. And just as a kid, it was just like, impossible to sit there for that long. Oh my goodness. Kelly said they yell flunk if you fail. That's right. If you like twitch or move or anything like that, they go flunk. You did this. You twitched. Start. So there's commands. It's flunk. You did this. Start. And then it restarts. And then the 2 hours start. And I remember one time I was like a half an hour sorry, like an hour and a half into my 2-hour confront, and I was finally gonna do it, and then a fly landed on my face, and I, like, shooed it away, and it was just, like, the worst day of my life. Oh my goodness. So I flunked, and I had to start over again, and honestly, it took me about a month to get through. Oh, yeah, someone mentioned, oh, what if you fall asleep? Yes, so many people fall asleep during this time. So many people. It's probably the biggest problem. It's actually specifically mentions it in the course pack. Like it says, no falling asleep, nothing like that. I was pretty trained well on not falling asleep because I already had to not fall asleep during all the L. Ron Hubbard lectures and the staff meetings and all that sort of thing. That part was not as hard for me, but it was definitely hard for other people. Um, so when you're a kid, you don't have to do this for 2 hours, but you still have to do it for a long time until the supervisor, who's sort of the teacher of the classroom, until they give you a pass. So they actually sit there and inspect you while you're doing it, and they can say pass. But on Pro TRs, it has to be the full 2 hours. Okay, so after TR0, after TR0, it is TR0 bull bait, which is basically the one where they can say all sorts of, where the person, your twin who you're working with, who's sitting across from you, 3 feet across from you, they can yell all sorts of insults, all sorts of inappropriate things at you. They try to make you laugh, and you basically have to sit there and not react in any way. And this is, essentially it's because the said reason for these training routines is because if you're being an auditor and the person who you're auditing acts up or tries or says rude things to you, it's teaching you not to react. It's teaching you to still stay the course and do the counseling that you're supposed to do. Sandy says, what if you don't like your twin? Too bad. Nobody cares if you don't like your twin. Like, you get twin with whoever you want. In fact, probably if you don't like your twin, this bull bait thing is even more grueling. They probably like you to twin with people who you don't like on that one. So, when I was a kid, this was mostly people shouting really rude things at me or trying not to laugh. And the whole course room would try not to laugh. When I was on Pro TRs at Flag, it actually like kind of was a lot more inappropriate. Like, and I was still, again, I was 13, and there was one supervisor, his name was Vittorio, and he was known to be the most difficult person to pass bull baiting with. He would just say like the most disgusting, like sexual things. And I remember the gal who I was twinned with, she was my friend. Her name was Claire, and she was also 13. And I just remember comments being made about her breasts and things like that. It would happen with older women as well. I specifically remember that because she was my friend and she was about 13, 14. But that's not the point of the drill. The point is for you to be able to keep a straight face and to not get angry or laugh or anything like that while the auditing session is happening. But it winds up having these side things that they sort of in some ways teach you not to be human and more robotic. It sort of normalizes telling you that if you're reacting badly to something someone says, even if it's something like sexual harassment or rude comments, that's on you. It's because you're reacting rather than, removing yourself from the situation or reporting it or something like that. Oh, I guess I can stop sharing this screen. Okay, let me do that. Let me figure it out. Yay, I did it. Okay. Okay, so after TR0 bull bait, there's TR1, which basically, once again, all the TRs are sitting across from each other, and you have an Alice in Wonderland book. I have no idea why. I think because there's a lot of like dialogue in it, but one person takes an Alice in Wonderland book and you practice reading lines out loud to your twin, and you basically are practicing to say them loudly and clearly so that they can hear without fumbling, without messing it up. And the intention of this is to learn to give auditing to give like counseling, auditing questions without stumbling them or messing them up or distracting the person who you're auditing. And then after that, there's TR2, which is acknowledgement. So it's practicing when the pre-clear, the pre-clear is what the person who you're auditing is called. They're the person receiving counseling. They're called the pre-clear because they are not yet clear on the bridge. And so basically, TR2 is acknowledging the things that they say. So if they say, my head hurts, you basically are supposed to practice saying, well, you're supposed to be like, oh, like I guess in the normal world, you'd be like, oh no, I'm so sorry. But kind of in Scientology TRs, you practice saying, I understand, or thank you, or things that are more robotic that you would kind of never really say in regular life. Like if someone said, oh, my head hurts, and normally you'd be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Do you need an Advil? But if you could never say that in Scientology, because that would be considered you putting your bad take on something they're saying and giving them sympathy, all of which are human things, which aren't necessary and aren't helpful, supposedly. And so it would just be like an I understand and thank you. And now this is all like good and fine if that's what they want you to do in auditing sessions. But when you're taking that course and sort of bastardizing it for children and teaching them to give sort of robotic acknowledgments, it doesn't really work. So there's some things that are originally made for one thing, but when you teach them to little kids, when they're 7, 8 years old, it doesn't really work like that. Like it just, a lot of the reasons they were created for don't apply to young children first learning how to communicate. And then there is, so after TR2, there's TR2.5, and that basically teaches you to encourage the person to keep talking. So it's like, and then after TR2 is TR3, where it basically has you, if you ask a question to the person you're working with, if you say, well, in this case, you say, do birds fly or do fish swim? So if you walk into a Scientology TRs course room at any time, you will see all sorts of weird things. People staring at each other, people shouting at each other, making fun of each other. They will be reading lines from Alice in Wonderland, and they will be saying, do birds fly or do fish swim? It's like kind of like a loony bin. Oh my God. There's other things that they're doing too that I will tell you about a bit later. That's just the start of it. But anyway, so on TR3, they say, so you're basically asking a question, do birds fly? And then your twin is supposed to give something that is not an answer to that question, which is a simulation of an auditing question. And then you're supposed to say, like if they say, I'm hungry, you can be like, oh, well, here's a bite to eat. Now, is that better now? All right, I'll repeat the auditing question. Do birds fly? It's all about getting back on track so you get the auditing question or command answered. And you're sort of combining the earlier training routines, the confront, the bull baiting, the acknowledgements, all that. And then TR4, I guess that's the one where you just like kind of put everything together. So yeah. Okay, so once you do all those, you are done with the Pro TRs course, or the all of the basic communication courses are based on those TRs. But then once you finish the Pro TRs course, you move on to another course, which is called Upper Indoc TRs, Upper Indoctrination TRs. And here, let me try to go back to the screen share. Let's see. Nope. Oh, window. Okay. Sorry, guys. Okay, so here we are again, and I'm just going to zoom in. And again, this is all on the training side of the bridge. All right, so right here is the professional TR course, and then once you finish that, you go up, and there is the Upper Indoc TR course. And that course takes you through TRs, I believe it is 6 through 9. And these are all done Well, for the most part, they're done standing up. And it is basically, so TR6 is you basically have your twin and you practice giving auditing commands. In this case, you go, look at that wall. And they do it. And you say, thank you. Walk over to that wall. And they walk over to it. And you say, thank you. Touch that wall. And they touch it. Thank you. Turn around. And then so you're between two walls. So you're walking back and forth. And then you do again, look at that wall. And so you're sort of just practicing, sort of telling someone what to do and having them do it. And that one is just basic. And then there's TR7, where basically your twin is supposed to do everything they possibly can in order to basically not comply with the auditing command. So they're supposed to try to run away. They're supposed to escape. They often try to lay down on the floor, and it just looks like an insane asylum when this TR is happening in the course room. It's a spectacle. I mean, I remember that I was twinned with this guy named Buster, and he was like 6'3", and he kind of like he probably weighed like 250 pounds. And basically, like, this is kind of where auditors learn. I think the purpose of this drill is to enforce the auditing command, and it's supposed to teach you to get over the fear of controlling other people and of physical control. And, it's also what you're supposed to use in an auditing session if the pre-clear tries to leave. And obviously I had this used on me many times in auditing sessions. And it's just kind of something that everyone knows about. And so I did this course when I was also about 13. And yeah, like, people are on it for a really long time as well. Not as long as the 2 hours, not as long as the 2-hour confront. That's the worst. But yeah, it's just like madness going on. Okay, then after TR7, there is TR8, which is, okay, so this Upper Indoctrination TRs course, it's all about the subject of tone 40. Now, Scientology has a tone scale, which is basically an emotional chart, which, there's at the bottom, I think it's total failure. And at the top is tone 40, which is called serenity of beingness. And this is basically a concept where you are able to give a command and you basically have no thought of any negativity or anything bad happening. There is no question in your mind that command is going to be complied with. It's like a mental state. And basically you're supposed to practice being at that tone level on this Upper Induct TRs course in order to get the person who you're auditing to comply with your commands or answer your questions. And so TR8 is where you're practicing tone 40, but you're practicing it in a really weird way, you guys. You're practicing it you're literally sitting in a chair, and in the chair across from you, there's an ashtray, a glass ashtray. And your twin is like, so you're here, the ashtray is in front of you, and then your twin is sitting here. So it's like kind of like boop, boop, boop. Anyways, you're basically like you start out telling the ashtray what to do, and then you make it do it. So you're like, stand up. Thank you. And you like, sit down in that chair, and you're you're lifting the ashtray up and down. And then you're supposed to practice asking questions to the ashtray, but you're supposed to practice targeting the questions using tone 40 into like the corners of the ashtray. So you'll be seeing people asking, like holding an ashtray out like this and asking questions of it. Like, are you a corner? Are you a corner? Are you a corner? And they're putting their tone 40 intention into each corner of the ashtray. Are you an ashtray? Are you made of glass? You're basically practicing focusing your tone 40 intention into different areas of an object. So, yeah, And then after that is TR9, where basically you combine all those things together, and it's another look at the wall, thank you, walk over to the wall, but you're doing it with tone 40. Anyways, yeah, so in this classroom, there's people staring at each other. There's people with their eyes closed. There's people yelling obscenities at each other. There's people yelling from Alice in Wonderland. There's people saying to birds flying to fish swim. There are people trying to escape and lay down on the floor. And there are people talking to ashtrays. No, it's sorry, Full Moon Gypsy said, is it a round ashtray? No, it's a square ashtray because you have to ask if it has corners. Kylie said, does nobody bust out laughing watching someone do this? It's just all normal. Like, I never thought of it as an insane asylum at the time. It was all perfectly normal. A lot of people laugh when people are bull baiting because sometimes they're saying really funny things. But anyways, okay, let me make sure I answered that question. Okay, so that is all on the training side of the bridge, and that's all before you get into the auditor training. But yes, this is a prerequisite just to teach you communication. And they also use these TRs that are originally created to train auditors, but they also, have people do them as introductory courses, not just children. They use it as a business tool. Like they say, oh, be a better communicator, be a better public speaker. And so they have lower level courses that are based on the TRs, but aren't actually the professional TRs course, which is the auditor training version of it. Okay, let's see. All right, I think I mostly covered that. Okay, now I'm going to try to go through and answer some questions. All right. Okay. Yes, I did it. Okay. Do you keep the same twin throughout your training? Oh, this is Sandy. Hi, Sandy. Not always. No, I mean, in an ideal world, you can, but sometimes the person, it's basically somebody you happen to be on the course with at the same time. And so a lot of times, so everyone who's doing auditing training, they have their own program they're working on. Some people may be training just to become a course supervisor or a word clearer, or some people are training to become an auditor. And so sometimes it's just the person who you happen to be on the course with at the time. Okay, hide. Okay. Sorry, guys, I'm figuring this out. Oh, Sandy's posting all the questions. Okay. Okay. Julie McGuire, 708. I'm getting in late, but question, is this training why people are so easily walked back to the org when someone catches them talking to protesters? That's a really good question. So the technique that they're using is called 8C, and it's TR 8C, and that's where you practice using tone 40 intention to direct someone to do something you want them to do. It's funny because it's auditor training, but the terminology and the uses of it just are prevalent all throughout all aspects of Scientology, including with security guards. Okay, let's see what other questions there are. I know there's somewhere where I can probably just look for all of them, but I haven't figured it out yet. All right, well, I think, oh wait, okay, I'll go to new comments. Okay, let's see. Saul Goodman, what's the youngest age you've personally seen doing TR training? I mean, I did these as young as 7 years old. So we all did them at the ranch, which is the boarding school of children of adults who worked at International Management. And so we were all doing them at a young age. I even have my certificates from it. And so I was 7 years old at that time. Yeah, I didn't see kids too much younger than that in the course room at Flag. There was somebody who was 9 who was doing it, though. Yeah, but so they would have been in a separate course room because they were doing introductory levels. So I was never in that in that course room at Flag. But yeah, we definitely did this when we were at 7 at the ranch. Okay. Sandy. Okay. Ingrid K. Are you expected to go through auditor training? Eventually all Scientologists are expected to, but mostly if you are a staff member and you're going to be delivering the auditing to public, you are going, mostly it's staff who are going through auditor training, but public definitely can. Okay. Let's see. This is from Car's Car. Were you an imperfect auditor yourself? I'm not sure what the imperfect part was, but briefly before I left Scientology, I completed my auditor training up to class 4 auditors. So wait, let me share where that is on here. Okay, so that is right here. I don't know if you can see my cursor, but I completed the training up to that point. And once you do that, there's an internship you're supposed to do where you have to pass all these things. You have to get you basically have to do a video recording of a session, and it has to be done perfectly before you can get through it. But I did up to class 4. Yes. But I didn't do a lot of auditing because I wasn't a posted auditor. So, you know, that's something that maybe would have been my post when I was my job, when I was done with the training, but I didn't do a ton of auditing because of that. You only do one auditing action at the end of each level. So I did level 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So you just do like a quick auditing activity at the end of that, but it's not a ton. Okay. Let's see. Cricket Cinema, are your parents informed of the training and results you're talking about now? I mean, it's a standard part of Scientology. And so when we're at the ranch, which is the boarding school I grew up in, we did like a weekly report to our parents where we would write what courses we were on, what courses we completed. And so, you know, we would say, and we you know, what we had learned that week, whatever. So, you know, if I was on that course, I would have said, oh, I'm doing this, but it's not something like your parents have nothing to do with it. They're not like checking in on you. It's just like they know that it's a part of Scientology because they themselves would have had to do it. Okay. Question from Kylie. Do adults ever bull bait minors? Yes, that definitely happened. Like I mentioned earlier, there was lots of minors in the course room that I was in. There at Flag, there were people training from all over the world, and many of them were minors. All of my friends who I was in the same training corps with were all minors, and the supervisor Vittorio would bull bait us, and so would other adults who were on the course themselves. Okay. Let's see. All right. Well, I think that's pretty much all the questions I'm going to take for today. Thank you guys so much for being here. Okay. And yes, if you have any new questions for me, please leave them in the comments. I'm really enjoying doing this. And I may try to do it through StreamYard every day at a certain time, just because it's a little bit easier than walking around. But I will do separate videos of, you know, doing some of the other things I like to do. Thank you so much to Sandy for moderating for me. Thank you all so much for being here. It was good to see many of my friends in here and your guys' sweet comments. And and don't forget to check out Sins of Scientology. It's Sandy's podcast on YouTube. And leave your questions in the comments. And I will see you all tomorrow. Bye.